Hey guys, and welcome back to another very special episode of Not About Chemistry. I'm one of your hosts, Amy.
I'm Nick.
I'm Daniel.
And I'm Claire.
And we are very excited to be back with you for another episode.
Woo! Give it up, everybody!
Okay.
Go team.
Alright, so little disclaimer. Yes, our show is called Not About Chemistry, and of course, it's still not about chemistry.
Never about chemistry.
Exactly.
Never has been, never will be.
Exactly. We refuse to make anything scientific or chemistry-y, right? Of course. S. Chemistry-y.
There you
I
go.
like that better.
Anything chemical.
So, yeah, exactly.
Although we
Ancient Babylonians were said to be the first people to make New Year's resolutions. So this is like 4,000 years ago. A long time ago. This is not a new thing. But they also celebrated during a massive 12-day religious festival. So they also crowned a new king over for I don't know. I'm just reading this for the first time. I have no idea what it says.
bit culty, if you ask me.
I've read something similar to this before. This was like there was a big ceremony at the Babylonian New Year's where they would like pick up the king and the priest would throw him down the steps to humble him. So like this is the whole thing.
That's me.
Yeah,
Out of
and,
honorable
like,
intention, though.
It's that's a theme that really like it resonates to this day because well, not quite to this day. Here, I'll get there as I go. But the Romans, for example, they used to have at Saturnalia, which is kind of like Roman Christmas. It's a solstice holiday. What would happen is the slaves and the masters would switch spots, and then that's a lot of parallels have been drawn to that today with like at office parties when like someone with your boss. It's a whole thing,
Speaking of Saturnalia, happy Saturnalia, belated.
Of course.
We meant to make a Christmas episode, didn't get around to it. But
Yeah.
happy belated Saturnalia.
We all got out of school at different times, and it was a
Yeah.
little hard to plan. I mean, our meeting today would just happen
Yeah.
today. We literally were like,
lined up.
Yep.
I mean, we all kind of just agreed
Spur of
that
the
we wanted
moment.
to make a new episode because, it has been a long
It's been
time.
a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
good
so
to be
we were
back.
like, you know what? We want to keep this going. We really like doing the podcast. I mean, I at least do. I don't know about you. So.
I secretly hate it.
I don't know why I'm even
but,
here.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
All right. So we want to talk about our word of the day with the one and only Daniel.
Funny vision.
Oh my gosh, Claire.
Oh my gosh.
That was so
But I
funny.
don't actually.
Okay. Anyway.
Explosive.
Yes. Very away from Nick. Yes. Okay. So we wanted to talk a little bit about New Year's resolutions themselves and why nobody really seems to stick to them. Like, if we know that nobody ever really follows through with them, why keep setting them? Why is it a thing, and why do people keep doing it?
Yeah, so first let's address what our New Year's resolutions are, just in case if you're wondering, and if you weren't wondering, we're going to share them anyway.
Yeah, too bad.
Yeah. My resolution,
yeah.
I'll start with me. My resolution is I am looking, it's not a list or anything. I don't think it's too unattainable, but I am trying to work on being more positive. There you
You know
go.
what? That's a good goal.
Being more positive. All
I disagree. I think Nick's goal sucks, but we'll get to that later.
Well, that's why people should burn in hell. Okay.
Oh God. Was that the second time we've said that in an episode?
I can be as negative as I want for the next 2
He said
days.
Ohio burn.
Get it all out.
Oh yeah, get it out of your system. Okay, all right. So for my New Year's resolution, I think I'm not completely set on it yet, but I have two that I'm mainly looking at. I want to go to the gym twice a week, which I did for a few months over the last semester, but didn't keep up with it as much as I should have. And then the other one is I'm not sure if I'm going to do this or not, but I might try the keto diet for a month.
Do you care
Alright, for
to
you.
tell us,
Yeah.
just inform us a little bit on what that entails?
So it's like I'm not sure exactly what it is, which is why I'm not
No
completely
carbs.
committed yet.
Okay.
It's basically
No
no
carbs.
carbs.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the main thrust of it. I know that a guy on my hall did it last semester. And
Really? How'd that turn out?
Yeah.
If you stick with it, it works. But
Yeah, my
Yeah.
brother lost like 50 pounds doing
What?
Dang.
That?
yeah,
I-
but
wow.
he doesn't care anymore, so he gained it back or whatever. But
I feel bad.
Pretty much how most diets
Yeah.
go.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys
Very
know this because
temporary.
it's through a audio only medium, but I'm a chunky boy. That's
an absolute unit.
Big man
Absolutely.
Dan.
Yes. If you're memesters,
That is what
there
they
you
call
go.
me.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you knew this, but Amy and I, we used to be into bullet journaling like 2-3 years ago. And
Hell
so
yeah.
when I come home from college, I'm like, you know, you rifle through your stuff, you like have all these old memories, and I pull out my bullet journal.
Oh my
And
God.
there's
The
some
December
good,
setup will never get away from us.
setup.
Oh boy.
There's some good stuff in there. There's some bad stuff, but I figured I'd try to do at least a monthly setup every month. You know, not like a huge time commitment, but at least something because I did enjoy it. You know.
You know,
Okay.
I also really wanted to get back into that, but, you know, I don't do as much homework or anything like that as I did in high school, so there's not much to
I
keep
wish.
track of other than, like, practicing, but I have a practice journal for that anyway. But for me, I have recently started to get into cooking a lot, and I would really like to, at least twice a week, cook a meal for myself, like, whether that be breakfast, lunch, or dinner, but I just feel like I don't eat from my house as much as I should. Like, I eat at school sometimes. Like, I don't have a meal plan or anything. But I live at home, if in case that, because that's really
Why would
weird.
anybody know?
I live three hours away from my house, and I drive home to go eat. Yeah, basically. No, but like I eat elsewhere other than my house a lot, and I don't want to be doing that anymore. Because one, I feel like I'm wasting a lot of money, and I feel like it's just a lot healthier in the long run to, you know, learn how to make my own food and all that stuff. So
Well, there you go. We have another Marston here, everybody.
Congrats.
great.
One of us.
Welcome to the clan.
Yes, it's a cult. You see.
All right.
There's no escaping.
So
All
now
right,
that we've
yeah.
described our own personal resolutions, we want to talk about the few that just about the entire country and just everybody does. You know, like the few stock resolutions. you
Yeah.
know?
So, do you have statistics here? Or okay. So let's first just list off real quick some of the top 10 New Year's resolutions that people have. So number 1 on the list, or
So
actually,
this is according to a 2,000-person survey
Yes.
done
So,
by Inc.
let's start by listing number 10. With 13%, it's spend more time with family and friends. Seems pretty attainable. You know, people do it anyway.
Or they should.
Yeah, or they should anyway.
I feel like that's hard if you're like a student, though. You know,
Yeah.
Like I
It is
feel
hard.
like you're gone, you're
Yeah.
away a lot of the time.
That's why I feel like that's definitely a factor into why many people drop that New Year's resolution, because it's not that they necessarily don't want to, but they don't have the free time, but they
Or they have
find
other
their
priorities.
find their
Yeah.
time doing other things.
And this also
important to them.
exposes the fact that New Year's resolutions are like kind of relative to age too, because you know obviously a student can't spend a lot of time with their friends and family because, or maybe their friends but not necessarily their family because they're away all the time. But let's say you were, you know, like a full-grown adult and you lived around your family, you could make time, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And number 9 is drink less alcohol, coming in at 15%. I think this should only apply to adults. 21 and up, just want to clarify. If you're in the U.S.
Not about chemistry does not endorse underage drinking.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, this one's pretty self-explanatory. People just want to either detox or just get away from it, you know.
And number 8 is finding a job. So that's another thing that's age related. The older you are, you know, you might not be happy with your job, but you also have that security where you have that extra money where you can afford to go out and look for other jobs and not just stay where you are to survive, you know. Number 7 is read more. I don't know if any of you guys have anything
You
to
know,
comment.
this has definitely been one of those things that I've tried to do a lot, but you know, I just don't have the time. I mean, I have the time. I just, for some reason, I don't. Maybe it's just me. I feel like I can't get into a book. Like there have been a few where I really, you know, have wanted to start reading, but it's just, I don't know why. It's just really
Yeah.
hard for me. That's one of those.
It's one of those time commitments where if you don't, almost I feel like if you don't instill that early on in your childhood, you're going to be less likely to read in the future, which doesn't mean it's impossible, but I found that I lose interest in a book shortly before or after 100 pages, and it's just like, not that I don't want to read it. I have certainly tried to read like many books over the years, but if it's not for studying and it's not for my personal benefit of a class, then I usually don't really. I find myself doing other things that I could fulfill my happiness with. So yeah, that's why that one is one of the most. I would think one of the most dropped ones.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like attention span is a big factor in that.
Definitely.
Oh,
Oh,
definitely,
yeah.
especially in a world with smartphones and social
Yeah.
media.
All this instant
Constant
gratification and
brain
stuff.
stimulation.
Yep.
Yeah. So it is definitely good to read more, and I'm definitely guilty of not reading enough. I mean,
especially as you get older.
yeah, or at least not for pleasure. Like I have to read a lot of stuff for school.
Yeah.
But, but that's very different.
And pretty much the other the other ones 6 through 1 all pertain to health. So
Maybe
yeah,
number
except
five,
for number 5, which is learn a new skill or hobby. But number 6 is quit smoking. Number 4 is save more and spend less. Number 3 is lose weight and then exercise more. And then number 1 at a whopping 71% is diet or eat healthier.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those ones, and I wanted to get into this one a lot because I feel like this is definitely a problem, that people set goals for themselves, like for their New Year's resolutions, and they make them very vague. Like, they say, I want to start going to the gym. That's like, that could be your resolution. I mean, like, yeah, you could start, and you go January 1st when the gym's completely packed because everybody else made the same resolution, and you don't continue. I feel like that's one of those that's just super vague because there's no set goal. You don't know what you want. You know you want to lose weight, but you don't know exactly how. Or you know you want to get bigger or like build muscle and stuff like that, but you're not setting a healthy goal for yourself, so you don't know how to get there. And I feel like that's the problem with a lot of resolutions. Anybody else want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, there's actually a bit of a framework that I found pretty useful in analyzing your goals. So there's this concept that I learned a few years ago through a program I did. It's called SMART goals, and I'm sure you guys have probably heard of it before.
Yeah,
It's an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, attainable, related, and timely. And I can just go through those one by one if you guys... Yeah. So specific, you want your goal to be very specific. Like, you want to have a clear success condition. So, like, once I lose, 50 pounds, I've done it, I'm good, I've completed it. That kind of thing.
Okay. And it's definitely important to have a specific goal, because if it's too vague, per se, like mine, be more positive.
Yeah.
It's not really going into the M part, measurable. And so it's important to have that clear and concise, specific goal so that you don't stray off from it.
It's easy to branch off from a goal that vague, so...
And yeah, I think a lot of people just have vague goals because they just want a goal. They want something to say they're working towards, even if it's something that they can't really attain.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into the next one, which is measurable. And that's very similar to the whole, you need to have a success condition. You don't want to say, like, what Nick said, that's a noble goal, but it's not very easy to be tracked, So, how can you tell that you've been more positive today? So, what I might recommend is,
sorry to cut you off. To elaborate on mine a little bit, a reason how or a way I can measure my sense of positivity is by every single day. I've actually started this year, so I'm kind of cheating by starting early, but I've started doing these gratitude exercises where about 5 or 10 minutes a day, I list all 5 things, and I go into detail about them if I want to, but I list all 5 things that happened that day that I'm appreciative about, and that helps my overall positivity.
Yeah, see, that's that's awesome.
That's a detailed goal.
Yeah.
Specific.
And so the next one, attainable. It's you need to be able to be realistic with your goals. You don't want to, I want to lose, 100 pounds the next 30 days.
Let's be realistic here.
Yeah. Unless you cut off
my leg.
Yeah. Right. The easy route out.
I mean, it is attainable, I guess that.
I mean, technically, yeah. But
it's a lot of paperwork.
But you want to be realistic about your goals, because that can mean that they're a lot more, it's an actual possibility for you to get them. I don't mean that just, it's literally impossible. But if you know that you can't do that, if you know that you can't go to the gym every single morning, don't plan on it, because you're just setting yourself up for failure.
50 books in 2 months, you can't.
Yeah.
That I think is literally impossible.
Yeah.
I think you literally need the time to sleep. You got me there.
A is for Apple books,
Alphabet books. Could breeze through those.
I mean,
Some
if
of
you
us.
can't, maybe you can reading them. Right.
Yeah, but so just make sure that it's unattainable. The second to last one is relevant. So this ties into the whole concept of your vision. So like your vision is kind of like what you want to do, what's your goal, like more than just your immediate goal, but like your far off vision might be to live a healthy lifestyle. And so your goal should be, lose 10 pounds or something like that.
Yeah, it should be relevant to your ultimate goal.
And then the final one is timely. You want to make sure that you have a timeline set out for it. So you don't want to just say, within the next year, I want to lose 10 pounds or whatever. I'm just using that as an example. But like you want to say in a month or in 2 months or in a week, however long you think that, probably maybe not a week, but
yeah, definitely.
Not healthy.
yeah. You should see a doctor if that's happening. You might have a tapeworm.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
But that's just kind of the SMART goal concept. So, any questions?
Leave your comments below. We'd love to
Leave your
hear.
comments below.
We'll answer it in this
we will-
episode.
yeah.
Right now. All right, guys, let's start looking.
Live feed. Come on.
Live stream.
And I wanted to talk about like why do we feel the need to set goals? Like why do we feel the need or actually, why do we feel the need to set a New Year's resolution when it's the new year? Like why not like in August or just in the middle of the year? When you feel like this is something that you want to do, like lose weight, why do you have to wait till next year? Why do we think that is?
So I think an obvious answer to that is because a new year, it's like a kind of a psychologically a way to restart.
Right.
And what better time to do it than start a new year so that at the end of the year you can easily look back and say, hey, I did everything I wanted to or didn't want to this year. So next year I'm going to work. It's like a checkpoint, a benchmark.
Yeah.
And I think like doing it routine year after year instead of, let's say, like changing in August or in July, it's just an easy way to keep track of when you change. I think that's an obvious answer, but another reason, like there's a gray area where why should we even do it if like I think it's something like 85% of people don't even follow through with their yearly goals more than 15 days. Like you go to the gym on January 1st and there's practically a line, an hour wait time for a dumbbell. But 15 days later, it's a ghost town because people just don't follow through. They're like, oh, well, I tried it. Didn't work out. Cool. So why even do it in the first place?
Yeah.
I think.
You go ahead.
I think part of it, especially stuff like going to the gym, you get caught up in that like initial craze. Like there's a whole group of people just like you who are not bodybuilders that are going to the gym. So you've got like these people to sympathize with and who are also going through the same struggle as you. It's like regular people, and you want to be like part of that group. I don't know if the same thing goes for like eating healthier or stopping smoking, but there's definitely part of that being in a group of people who are also doing the same thing. Whereas, if you did in August, it'd like just be you by yourself. I mean, yeah, you have friends and family that you can reach out to, but
Yeah, I it might be useful to look at this from a sort of different angle. So, like, why? I mean, that's why we do it on January 1st. But should we do it that way? I've read and I've seen this in a myriad of places, but it takes about 2 weeks to kind of settle into a new lifestyle. Whether that's your sleep schedule or just going to the gym or whatever, it takes about 2 weeks for you to really internalize and incorporate that into your schedule.
Really? Is it?
Yeah.
So I actually, funnily enough, because this is actually relevant to what I've been going through in the past month, I've been dealing with like some personal stuff, and I did some research, and they said on average it takes a person 66 days to completely adjust into a new routine.
Okay.
Now, that might be a little different than what you're talking about, but to fully adjust and get into that routine and not want to go back to the old routine, and that is relevant to like relationships.
That makes sense.
It usually, depending on the length of the relationship, of course, it takes an average 66 days for that person to completely get into a different routine and more or less forget about the other person.
Yeah, like that makes sense. I'm sure it's of course never going to be exactly any one thing, but it takes time. That was the point. You can't just. It doesn't take an afternoon.
Definitely commitment, perseverance.
But there is a point where it gets folded into your schedule, and so the question, of course, comes down to why do it on January 1st. And I mean, you don't have to. You can, in August, you can go. I want to start going to the gym. But the thing is, we're about the New Year's, we're reminded to do that, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Like, we're not just kind of told, or it's not like the rest of the year where we just go about our business, but it's an opportunity to be reminded to, turn a new
Maybe
page.
change something,
Yeah.
You think, you look back on your year, and especially, obviously, the end of the year is a time for reflection. It's like, what happened? What did I do right? What did I do wrong? It's a time for you to, change, to not necessarily forget about what happened in the past, because you can't just forget, but it's for you to, reflect and to look on in hindsight and be like, what would be better for me in the future,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think the biggest takeaway from this is please go for a New Year's resolution, not just for a bandwagon, but really mean it. And it's important to be authentic in your goals, and by using our five-step.
It's not our method.
Yeah.
But
It
Five
is
step
our
program.
five-step
We patented
method.
it. It's
If you
ours.
pay $29.99 a month,
You
no.
need to pay us royalties.
Yes, but all
It's SMAR method.
all jokes aside,
Smart.
if you stick to something that you see as attainable and you follow that five step acronym, then don't be limited to start January 1st, or don't be discouraged when it doesn't work out, but we encourage you to start it and hopefully finish it, but you definitely do not need to start it whenever everybody else does. Just because it seems like it's socially acceptable doesn't mean you have to, if you feel that you're not ready yet, don't, and do it a few months later.
Yeah, self-improvement doesn't have a timeline.
Exactly.
You can work on
Now,
improving yourself whenever you want.
Now, does that mean it's easier to do it with others, like going to the gym? It's yes, it can be supportive to go work out with many other people who have the same goal in mind as you, and it helps with like getting your motivation up, but it's definitely not mandatory. So
Yeah,
I think that's a big takeaway from this.
And one idea which we might want to leave off with is just, it's sometimes useful to just have like a 2-week or a 3-week or a month-long resolution. It doesn't have to be the full year. You don't have to do that whole commitment. Like, I've heard of people doing like a week-long vegan challenge or something like that.
Yeah.
Where they just decide, like, I'm going to eat vegan for the next week. And then they evaluate whether they want to continue that for the next week.
Yeah, a common misconception about New Year's resolutions is making your goal too long or too short. And really, there's no like average length the goal should be, but just make sure you don't blow it out of proportion, and again follow that 5-step acronym. Be specific, measurable, attainable, relatable, relevant, and timely.
Yep.
So,
All right.
All right, well,
done?
thank you for listening into our most recent episode of...
The last episode of the decade.
Sorry we took a break.
Yay. Well, thank you for listening to this. We hope you enjoyed it. If you like our episode, please feel free to
Smash
subscribe.
that like button.
Smash
Just
that like
give
button.
it a hip thrust.
Hit the bell.
Whoa, okay, wow. Add our post notifications, so whenever
So
we
you'll
do
get a notification
post,
in 6 months, you know?
when the next semester's over. Actually, Thanksgiving break will probably be the most.
Yeah. Let's be honest.
I will be gone.
Don't be surprised if you hear a FaceTime call from Amy
Or
somewhere around the world.
Or if it's like everybody else is here and I'm in Ohio or
That's
something.
that's
right?
our future. It's going to be filled with robots and FaceTime.
Ohio's tearing this podcast apart.
Oh, God.
It's Ohio's fault.
All right.
We need to crash and burn.
Well, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Again, I'm Nick.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Claire.
And I'm Amy.
Have a good one. A very
See you
brief
guys
break.
next decade.